Good morning, good morning. Let's go live. Let's start with some kind of music. So let's do it. Good morning, good morning, good morning to everybody. Hopefully everybody had a great week. Now, this is one of those weeks, if you remember my quote-unquote my astrology from back in May, where we actually have something to really work with. So, guys, Barb is not here, so can somebody take on her stuff, letting people know which sign we are. I'm also going to be giving little signs on the table, so that way we kind of like know all the way what is going on. So hopefully somebody can just simply do it and remind me after 6 signs to do the doors and at the very end. Okay, Nini Yogi is going to do it. Perfect. We have somebody. Thank you. You're master moderator today. Okay, guys. Before I start, there is a little bit of astrology. I did cover it in my monthlies, but let's do it again. So, yesterday Mars went forward. But this just like means, you know, you just like put it in your first gear and you're moving kind of like forward. But Mars will be gaining speed, like it's just like almost like I'm in foot to the pedal, right? And mid to late December is going to be a climax. December 10th and December 14th will be very intense, but this week we will certainly feel it because Mars rules our vitality. If we were feeling blah, I was feeling really blah for a very long time, and I'm blaming this on Mars. This is going to start changing. It's going to feel like I'm in baby steps, but it's going to start feeling, hey, I'm finally moving in a good direction. Like if you had feelings that you have goals and you set your goals and somehow you're failing or you're not getting there. Many people had this pandemic fatigue. That's going to start feeling different, right? So this is like what happens with Mars. But we also have new moon. So new moon is going to be tonight in the Pacific kind of like coast at 8:51 p.m., which means for us here in the East Coast is going to be just after midnight at 50 minutes after. Now, what is really interesting about this new moon, you know how new moons are always kind of like bringing something interesting. You usually I call for a ritual. If nothing else, just spend 5 minutes in peace, like pull yourself thoughts in, just close yourself in the bathroom if you don't have any other place, and just don't think about things you want to shed. Think about things that you really want to have in your life, and in a very positive way, right? So what is really interesting about this new moon is it is in Scorpio, which is kind of transformational sign. I don't know how many of you really studied Scorpio, unless you're a Scorpio. You are really going into kind of like that transformation. Remember death card? You kind of like are dragging something and you die, and then you have to really transform yourself to kind of like emerge like a phoenix. So when you kind of like look that every sign has 30 degrees, right? So basically that transformation for Scorpio has to happen within those 30 degrees. And I think I'll have to shut off my air conditioning. Imagine how hot it is in my place that I have it. So this new moon is at 23 degrees. So it's kind of like at the later degrees of Scorpio, which means it's very mature. It means it's very powerful, which means it's getting into the transformational state. So for you putting these intentions, you'll have almost like 6 months benefit of seeing these things roll out. So do not miss it. Do not miss it. That's basically tomorrow, the whole freaking day. Focus on this new moon. It's Sunday. It's kind of like easy going to do it, right? So also Mercury is in this kind of like final opposition to Uranus. So Uranus in Kabbalah is the boss of basically Mercury. So just like you can imagine how much Aquarians get affected with Mercury retrograde, because it's almost like it's a chair that is kind of like somebody's pulling the chair under your feet, right? And that kind of like comes into the light November 16th and 17th. So what's happening? The 13th, yesterday we had Mars moving forward. So 14th, 15th, we have new moon in Scorpio, depending where you are in your part of the planet, right? Then we have 16th, 17th, Mercury in the final opposition to Uranus. So these are kind of like effects that look almost like there is a news coming up and coming up and coming up all the freaking time. So this whole week is going to be very much like, I mean, crashing through the barriers, moving forward, setting up new kind of like determinations and new limits. So there you go. That's right. You need to disconnect from collective energy. Kylie, really good point, because Scorpio is a very private sign. They kind of like don't do things collectively, for example, like Aquarians would do. Aquarians feel betrayed if like all the friends and I don't know, like associates and everything, that everybody doesn't kind of like join in, and hence they give up, and hence like, I mean, this kind of revolution doesn't happen all the time, which is kind of lucky for all of us. Scorpio is kind of like, I'm going to do it on my own. So this is kind of like what is really, really happening. And keep in mind that Mars is keeping the foot on the gas, and this is going forward. So give me a second to get my remote control and turn off this little thing, because I like everything to be cold. It still did not turn off. Why? There we go. Done. And I even got a blankie. Oh my gosh, like I'm getting to that age where I have hot flashes and it's uncomfortable. I must have been a witch in the past life. And this blankie that I got is like pretty much paper thin. It has some, I guess they're calling Japanese technology. Two sides. One has a kind of fuzzy side, and one has just like almost like a regular side. Maybe it's like some kind of synthetic, possibly, which I'm not crazy about. But all you need to do is just kind of like, you need to wave it like this, and it has a cooling effect. It's freaking amazing. It's almost like you're in a swimming pool and that kind of like water is splashing you. So it's a very, very good feeling. So we are starting with Scorpio, and knitting yogi, that's okay. I'm doing the stamps on my end, so I will post them later, so that's really not a biggie. So that's why people can get it right away after this is done. So Scorpio, let's do you, because you are the ones carrying this new moon. So let's see what happens over here. Let me catch up with everybody. Hi Alexander, Kylie, Knitting Yogi, Chris is there. Awesome. Okay, so you have an Kelsey, hi, I expect an surgery next week. I'm self-employed and missing a lot of work and very anxious about my health and finances right now. What sign are you, Kelsey? And do you know like your ascendant and your moon? It will be helpful, so kind of like it will be really interesting. But like when we have doors, you'll be able to really ask. But this whole week, as I said in the introduction, is going to be moving forward. So your surgery most likely will go very well, because Mars and surgery kind of like, it's something, hey, this has to be done, needs to move forward. And you will also have this feeling, okay, I need to roll up my sleeves. After that, like, let's do things first, kind of like almost like check, 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 check. Especially if you're Virgo, you'll have really that much of an attitude and surgery, and now like you're going to give yourself some time to recover, and then you're going to say, okay, now I'm working, now I have no excuses, and it's going to really, really work out like that. Sagittarius Sun and Rising and Aqua Moon. You know what? I'm going to talk about it in my December forecast. Aquarius is reaching its apex on December 21st. So it's a really, really, really good period. Like, we had to wait the whole year. So sorry, Scorpio, I'm going to redo the stamp so you don't have to wait. So let's see. Scorpio, happy birthday. And this is like the week for really, really, really setting your vision. If you guys haven't listened the first part, just go to the beginning of the live to get the introduction that I had, which is basically talking about this new moon in Scorpio, which is going to really affect us severely this week. You being Scorpio is going to affect you 10 times more. So go and check it out. So you guys have Page of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, and Nine of Pentacles. Pentacles is definitely ruling all the earth things, and I don't know why I'm not seeing here the reading happening online. Let me just refresh my live here because it seems to be stuck. I don't know if you guys are seeing anything or not, because at the same time Windows pop up with a news saying that is going to start to update. So I really hope it's not going to get any idea to update my computer during live. So how do we do this in order for you to guys know which sign it is and how it's going? So Page and King. So now we have two very different energies. It's almost like an apprentice and somebody who is well versed in how to kind of like ground themselves. You kind of like maybe felt that there's like something that is going on, and that something was not necessarily how to put it, the energy that you really felt is very, very productive for you. I like it this way because it shows a kitty. So it almost like tells me there is this growth. There is like the growth to full maturity. There's like something you guys are addressing. And what are Pentacles addressing? Pentacles are addressing our finances. Pentacles are addressing our family relationships, our legacy, the wills. Pentacles are addressing our sense of what we feel comfortable. Some people feel comfortable. Some people cannot sleep if they don't have like $1,000 on their bank account. Some people cannot sleep if they don't have $1 million, right? So it's kind of different, that thermometer for all of us, right? So it's kind of like really important to kind of like really assess this. This might be also that you're like taking care of a child, or that the child maybe needs your financial support. And as much as you're willing to give, and you will give it, it's almost like that you're feeling, well, wait a minute, I need to cut the cord. There's like something that really needs to happen over here, and this person needs to be a little bit more stable, because that's why we have Nine of Pentacles here reversed. Look at that. I mean, voluptuous woman over here who is like really, really happy. Oh my gosh, what a glorious freaking dress. Not that you can walk in it, but I mean, that would be my idea of a fashion, right? So, but it's reversed, and somebody is not willing, or somebody is not capable of, let's say, doing things alone, right? So it's a Scorpio new moon. It's very important to kind of like do things our way. So it's almost like that you will be mentoring someone, unless you are being mentored. And if you are the one who is on the receiving end, then you might be cut off, but that cutting off will be the best thing that happens to you. You might not feel it right away. It's going to feel like, ew, slippery slope, banana peel kind of like territory, but it's going to really kind of like work out over here. So don't worry about that. So let me kind of like get one gypsy card. Okay, guys, you have a video, and see what else we get. Ooh, and then I guess like we get Old Woman, which to me would be a companion to this King of Pentacles. So grandma furniture over here for sure, right? It looks like my dad's place anyway. But what is really to me interesting over here is that she has her feet on this book over here. I don't know if you guys see it, right? So and it's kind of like a blankie over here. Is it the blankie? Yeah, it does look like a blanket across her lap. And there's like also a book in her hand. So she's maybe either preparing for reading or praying, but it's clearly to me suggesting some kind of like knowledge and devotion. I want practicality. You put the book under your feet, A, because you don't need this book, you know everything in this book, or hey, this was like really handy, really quick solution to kind of like lift your kind of like hand. But there is also a lamp that is clearly shown as shining over here, and there are like also some kind of like flowers that are connecting here. And I don't know why I'm so detail oriented today. Bizarre. But that's kind of like telling me that there's like kind of shining a light to kind of like illuminate the matter. So something is becoming prominent, something is becoming self-evident, right? So this card can represent, let's say, a mature person in your life, could be male or female, and it could suggest that you know, you should look and trust advice of the older woman. It could be older men too, but I would say mostly would be an older woman. That's what I said. It's maybe connecting with the King of Pentacles. It could be your, I guess, mother or a mentor of some sort. But it can also represent, because we are going through Scorpio new moon and Scorpio transition, Scorpio sun, so they're like really close, and the sun and the moon are together for Scorpio. That's a good thing. That's like everything is like really happening. So it's like mother and the father principle. As you're repeating here in tarot, as you can see, you just can't cheat, right, when this is happening. So this is some kind of like peaceful transition. There it is, like you are giving that rebirth. There's like there are new ideas coming out. There is like somebody who is mentoring somebody. There's like somebody who is telling you kind of like what to do and helping you remove those training wheels if you really wish. So you really need to listen to this person or listen to your own inner voice of wisdom. Very, very, very important, right? So I don't know, like also what maybe I want to say, that there are lots of traditional values in here, that your solutions wouldn't be, well, you know, let's pack and move somewhere else. No, now it's going to be nothing crazy because they're Pentacles. It's going to be tried and true kind of solutions. So just keep that in mind. So happy birthday, Scorpio. Have this like beautiful, beautiful transition, and hopefully I'll hear from you. So that's going to be nice. Hello, Isa. How are you doing? Nice to see from you. Nice to hear from you. So let's see who is next. Mexico is in the house. Mexico. So the next one is Libra. All right, so let me pull my Libra card. I kind of like wrote all these cards with hope they will help us. So there we have Libra. Somebody suggested that I think it was a great idea, except I really have to still figure out where to put it in order to Libra, you have the moon. Yeah, Libra is a little bit also in astrological doldrum as well. So the moon is like kind of like creating certain confusion. You kind of like think you know where you're going, but like you have like so many things that are happening, and this could be possible because of all this kind of like Venus issue that we currently have. And Venus is very tricky, right? Currently what we are going through, it almost like feels like that everything we want, we are kind of like blocked. So you're going to have a sense of feeling that you're going nuts, that somehow, like, I mean, the cards are against you, the stacks are against you, but you look like there is like Queen of Wands, which is really, really good. And there's also Page of Pentacles, very similar, very, very similar energy to Scorpio reading. Check it out as well, except you have a major arcana. So for you, if you live in a la la land, if something has been, how to put it, if somebody has lied in a situation, if somebody has presented a situation with an exaggeration, if somebody has kind of like masked certain things, then things are not going to kind of like really position very well, because then you're building basically the future on the house of cards. Like there's like something that's being built but is not built properly, and that's why we have all of these different energies. We have water energy, we have fire energy, so that's kind of like that sizzle, and the sizzle is literally reminding me of, like, I don't know why I saw this like planet Venus, right? Because they used to be really probably lush planet like that we are right now, and they simply kind of like lost this kind of like cycle of water evaporating and coming down, and everything started to sizzle and water started to evaporate, and whole freaking planet turned into volcano, which Queen of Wands could represent. So this could simply mean like that you're kind of like tired of a small talk, and then there is like some kind of like eruption that is really happening, but it's kind of like in a good way. I mean, what is a good news is that you're setting your foot down. It's really interesting also. We kind of like have a new moon over here shown, not the full moon, which if I'm illustrating the card, to me would be full moon because I find it beautiful. But new moon here showing like you need to set the stage for new things. And even though maybe your plans are really, really big, you kind of like need to come down, and kind of like you need to kind of like really resort to having these workable small units. And that's why Page of Pentacles is showing through. Like there is some kind of knowledge that needs to be obtained, and this is kind of like a studious person who is kind of like really kind of like spending time to kind of really figure things out. So the motivation is here, which obviously shows Aries is kind of like hitting you through. Keep in mind, certain Aries, the Mars, and Aries is the opposite to your sign. So that's why it almost like feels like, you know how in an accident somebody hits you from behind. So that's going to feel like that you're kind of like pushed into something just because, well, how you're pushed, you actually didn't see it, but being pushed is still going to be a good thing. So that is really important to kind of like know over here. So oh, that's very sweet of you, Kylie, for Kelsey, because look at this. This came over moon, and it's called waiting. What have you been waiting for, right? Like, is it something, and you're like very similar to Pisces in that way that you can, you're like very romantic, and you can kind of like come up with a whole bunch of ideas, almost like a Hollywood movie, and then you kind of like get stuck in this waiting period. Unlike them, they're kind of like dreamy, but you get stuck because you're like a cerebral sign. So she's clearly waiting for somebody over here. It's kind of like a wanderlust, if you really think, right? And kind of like that's kind of like the dreamy expression. Also, we have red roses, a symbol of love over here, and it's kind of like really important, right? But it came reversed, and it just jumped over a moon, so it didn't let me kind of draw the card. So there's like something that is unnecessary in the situation. What are you waiting to happen? Like you almost like don't have goal defined kind of a thing, right? You see, this card is an indicator of time. So reversed, it's suggestion you need to stop waiting. You need to start moving. If something is pointless or all hope is in vain. And even though this might sound harsh, you really need to stop doing it and start moving on with your life, right? So maybe some kind of event will not occur, or the person is not coming, or a loved one will not return, or a meeting will not take place. There's going to be some kind of like rejection, or maybe you're applying for a job and you get a rejection. Oh my gosh, I got a rejection for a job application, which I applied 6 years ago. I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted to reply to them. Well, thanks for thinking of me all this time. But it was one of those no reply messages, I guess, no wonder, right? So now, because this is associating sort of like with an interruption card, which to me is the moon. A moon is like that semi-dreamy state, and also moon is we are going through new moon, and we are going through this kind of like regeneration. So this is really, really a big warning for you, saying, okay guys, if you keep doing what you have been doing, you are not going to be able to take advantage of this new moon. You will not regenerate. So you need to wake up. You need to re-energize. You need to go in this direction. Okay, comprende, Libra? And hopefully this helps, and hopefully you guys really work it out this period of time. Let's put this all back here. What, nobody's talking? What is this? Barbie's not here and nobody's talking. What's going on here? And there it is, somebody. Kylie's doing the holistic studies. Graduation is in January next year. Oh my god, like you're all coming through. That's freaking awesome. Okay, I need to have a sip of coffee. And the two of them want to come out. I just want one for now. And it is Cancer. Cancer. Okay, let me find your tab here. Cancer. I'm just peeling them one by one. All right. So my dear Cancers, let's see what's coming up over here. Cancers. You guys give me thumbs up if you're like seeing that kind of a thing. That would be awesome. So we already had 100 people here. That's freaking awesome. So Cancer, we have 10 of Wands reversed. We have 2 of Wands. And then we have Page of Wands, but it's reversed. Now it's really interesting. Page of Wands is very similar to an Ace. So you have all Wands. So you're water, you have all fire. So this is like that cycle. It's pushing you out of your own comfort zone. There's no comfort zone. You are a sign that is also very secretive, except you don't share your secrets with anybody. You're holding them really, really close. And if you're ever willing to say any of them, then you really need to trust this person, and you would feel very, very, very betrayed if something like this happens, right? So here we have 10 of Wands. It's a little bit different interpretation in this particular deck, because this guy seems to be very comfortable with all of these 10, and some of them are still flowering, and it seems to be a wealthy guy who kind of like has his little cape and crest, and he's going to his it's still a long trip, and he's going to his castle. But this is reversed. So he is dropping this. He's abandoning a path, I would say, over here, right? There's like something that really needs to happen. Maybe those secrets are not supposed to be secrets. Maybe you're going to feel that there's like some kind of like world that you have built that is a little bit constraining. And because of it's constraining, you kind of like really need to go in a new direction. And new direction it is. You're kind of like realizing this. Maybe maybe you just realize that maybe you have been caring for somebody, you have been a caregiver. Maybe you felt that you're always the one who give and give and give, and you're not really getting your returns. Not that you expected, but you're just seeing imbalance. Because this card is clearly, look, you're looking at this new horizon. You're saying, okay, maybe this path, I just came to basically the end. That's the transformation of a Scorpio. And now where do I go? He is imagining his own world, how it could be, right? But because you're Cancer, you're going to spend a week in that imagination phase, right? Are you guys getting disconnected? I'm seeing something is happening over here. Hello, Debbie, and hello, Catherine Foster. I'm going to address this in between the signs. So, Page of Wands is not a great card when it comes reversed. But Page of Wands is like that, kind of like little energizing bunny, going everywhere, doing stuff. So, when this happens, it's kind of like you get tired just with thinking. And this is kind of like because you'll be spending a week in this energy of fire. And you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, I'm depleted. I really just don't know how to work it out and how to kind of like do it, right? So let me guys refresh it on my end, because I'm seeing here complaints. It could be, I mean, on my end, everything seems to be okay, but it's just like sometimes helps when I do it, right? So we will see. So Page of Wands is almost like an Ace of Wands. You can talk about, again, you're trying to go back, because an Ace of Wands is also similar to Ten of Wands. So as you can see, you're kind of having a little bit bouncy energy. Something is going up and something is going down, and it's kind of like you're trying to find this like fine spot where you belong. It's like almost like a ball that is going everywhere, and it's always kind of like going back to this beginning stage, where here you're starting a week with saying, okay, I'm moving ahead, I'm moving forward, I have those ideas, but then you go back. Be careful. That can be how you get stuck. That can be how you really need to be able to move forward. Okay, all right, so guys, good to see it, that you're getting Priest, and Priest is like interesting. Like when the first time I read the sense of Priest is a lawyer, but yeah, I guess back then when you think about it, they kind of like had this like few scholarly types that they had like really high powers, and hence that's why the abuses that happened by clergy and by the others are so heinous, right? Because you trusted these people, you kind of like gave them ability to like, I mean, run your life. So sure, that can also talk about morality and beliefs, and it's kind of like he's someone who preaches about what is good or evil or just or unjust, right? So like if you really go with that kind of like method. This is a neutral card, and it kind of like symbolizes the presence of the sacred, right? So it's also talking about there is a higher power, and they're like some kind of like, let's call them universal laws defining what is good versus what is evil. It's kind of instinctively kind of like telling, like, you know, this kind of programming has to build in. So this card generally is a suggestion that you need to examine your own actions, your own conscious, and kind of like have that personal responsibility, which you guys usually do have. Sometimes this card refers to a specific person, but you know, giving this connection over here, I could say that maybe the youth and maybe inexperience of somebody, of like, if this is the youth and experience of the person who is preaching, is kind of like something that you need to kind of like be alert about, right? There is like also some situation here for some of you that you're moving on from a relationship, or that somebody passed on, so you're dealing with, let's say, some legalities of paperwork or separation of inheritance, and it's kind of like sins would be the word you'll be using this whole freaking week, and or this is right or this is not right. You will see kind of like how that's going to be affecting you. So that's kind of like that Venus and kind of like Libra, that kind of like would be that aspect. So you guys, my best advice would be that you need to make a very honest assessment of your recent actions and thoughts, and choose only the right and choose only the moral option to move forward. That's going to be very important to move on. Okay, so let's see. Somebody asked me a question, but I don't do personal reading during live. However, after 6 signs, and I didn't, oh my gosh, I didn't put markers. But let me see if I try to remember. Let me try here. I'll try to figure out later. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a bloody mess. Hopefully bloody mess. So I don't do the reading, but after every 6 signs, I do something that is called doors, where you can ask a question and you kind of like get possibilities that can kind of get out of it. So that kind of can be used, and this is after 6 signs and also at the very end, so that can help. So that probably would be something. Also, because you're the live reading, every single sign that I read is sending you messages. It's almost like, think of you that you're in the audience, and anything that I get through, even though I'm kind of delivering through certain signs, since we all have different planets and different kind of like kind of like vibrations affecting us, you can get the message that way. So hopefully that really, really helps. So I can keep more markers if you want, Kat. Can you knitting yogi? Because I think Barbie was not able, so I did it right now. If you can, that we double down, it would be great. So thank you. Then we have Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So let me find yours here. And here we go. Sagittarius. And a sip of coffee. Thank you, Kylie. Sagittarius. I know, knitting yogi, like Barbie said the same thing. That's why I'm doing this on my end, because it's not the same for you as it is for me, but it's okay. Did this. No, we still didn't do Leo. So if you look, like, and Kylie and knitting yogi are doing and letting you know which signs have been done, so we can go with that. But now it's Sagittarius. Oh, you're like the ultimate sign with, like, I mean, juggling things, but I think you're done. Something is done. Put a fork in me. I'm not going to do it. Are you guys having a frozen screen again? This is crazy. Absolutely crazy what's happening today. And yet, it's telling me everything is good with my streaming speed. It could be that Windows upgrade that is really messing with me, because I'm seeing here a complete drop happening. But here we go. Is that? Are you guys doing okay? Yeah. And then you have also 5 of Pentacles reversed, and you have also 10 of Cups reversed. I don't know what's going on, guys. Did you lose some kind of, like, hope? Like, I mean, you see what is really important about Sagittarians, and you just, guys, need to survive another freaking week. And I think because you're a fire sign that I'm seeing this, right? Your Sagittarius sign starts on the 22nd, so it's just going to be literally like within 8 days. So just kind of like you're going to the finishing stage, because I'm seeing something here that I really don't like. And almost like that you're resigned to your station in life, that you're resigned to what is going on. At least this week is going to, for you, be weird. And you need to go back, Sagittarius, and listen to the beginning of this live. Like in the first minutes, I was giving a little bit of astrological overview, and it's actually really important for this new moon. It's really, really important that kind of like we push ourselves forward, right? So what is really happening here is like you're kind of like enough of something. This is almost like I take my ball, I'm going home. I'm just like tired of it. Everything that I do, or I'm stretched so much and nothing is really happening. Like because you're a fire sign, because you're used to kind of create energy with energy, right? All of a sudden it's like WTF, kind of like what and why is this going on? And then 5 of Pentacles is like you're seeing doom and gloom. Like you are the most optimistic sign of all. And so if you start feeling like that, like, I mean, this can really lead to no good, because this week we all are supposed to transform. We are given the ability to transform. Imagine somebody is giving you a lottery ticket and saying, just like do this. And you're saying, yeah, millions, schmillions. No, I'm going to read a book. And then you're beating yourself like the next week and the rest of your life about it. So this is really one of those readings that I can tell you, because they are minor arcanas, and you're listening to this, you can change it. When you have major arcana, probably not, right? Because you're kind of like putting on a brave face, you're putting on everything is going well, yes, I'm kind of okay. Maybe you're kind of like patting yourself on the shoulders and saying, well, it is what it is. Instead of having that resolute kind of like attitude that Sagittarians can have, exuberant, and you kind of flying very high, you know, above the mountains. And like, I really don't see overall the energy is really here. And like the worst part of this is like, and you really need to work on that, is to psych yourself up to do this transition. Because look, 10, 15, 17. That's the star card. And the star card, when it reverses, is kind of like suggesting few things. You are not properly nourished, so maybe you have to pay attention to what you eat and what you drink. You need to drink lots of water, because there's like some detoxing that is taking place. There's like a complete lack of nourishment. You are not paying also attention to the people who are nourishing to you. In fact, almost like the people who come forward will be those bullies and kind of like people who hire extroverts, where those introverts are left on the sidelines, and actually they are the ones who are helping you more. And it's somebody who is not so much in your face, and you need to kind of like figure it out. There's like some kind of like emotional fulfillment. It could be that you're putting a good face or smiley face for your family, for your kids, and you don't want to kind of like make them worried. But nonetheless, there's like something that is going on. Temporarily restricted with zero personal time. This too shall pass. That's right, Kylie. And look, you have child. I mean, here this card has children in it, so it could be that directly this means, you know, there's like something about children, of course, but this can also talk about pregnancy, birth. And I really think this is connecting to this full moon. Remember how I said it's a later degree of Scorpio. It's a 23 degrees of Scorpio. And on 23rd this month, it's not related, these two things. I'm just like playing with the numbers. We actually already going to be in Sagittarius. So this is that rebirth. There is like this something new, a new project, a fresh start, and some kind of creativity. It also can talk about somebody without experience, but there's like something for you guys that is brewing, that if you do your work, you're going to get it. If you don't do your work, then what will we do then? So the baby is in a cradle. It conveys the meaning of new and cuddled up and sleeping and comfortable. It's kind of like that first step, initial part of everybody's life. It's kind of like personal or business, doesn't matter, right? It's kind of like little by little, kind of like creating new steps, creating new processes, right? It signals actually the development of something very important. So it could be also like the child always represents fire and the energy, and it could be this Mars that you need, like kind of like you need to feel this motivation, and it's going to be ramping up throughout your own sign. Remember how I said it's kind of culminating somewhere around the 10th, so you guys are going to really benefit out of it, right? So there are going to be new ways to overcome, like, I mean, any kind of difficulties. I would say it's going to be some kind of like freaking new opportunity, whether this is like somebody who is going to walls in your life, a new friendship, a new love. I don't know if you're going to get pregnant, but it's going to be maybe new client, new opportunity. Pay attention to anybody talking to you, because that could be it. That could be that phone call. That could be that call that you need to pick up. So any kind of incentive is going to be really important. So accept that with great enthusiasm. This is kind of like the card that says, put on the brave face if you have to. Fake it until you make it. Very important. And at the same time, it's asking you to stop being this freaking jaded. Stop being negative. You need to accept these new elements in your life with kind of like enthusiasm and no prejudice, just like a child, right? And something is really going to flourish inside of you or near you. So take it very simple. Like, the situations are not complicated. You're used to maybe situations in your life getting to this point of like really having a difficulty to really resolve, so you kind of like maybe connect them with complications, but something is going to be very different happening over here. So that's kind of like important. All right, sip of my coffee. So where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 2 more. And we have Aries. Aries, you guys are also similar to Sagittarius. You kind of like probably felt this energy of Mars retrograding, but for you it manifests differently. So when the Mars retrogrades, it can make you angry. It can make you a jerk, basically, right? It can make you not to, just to look after number one without even realizing like about it, this is what is happening. So be very, very kind of like attuned to it, because things will be changing. So let me see what was happening in the meantime. So you have Seven of Wands. It's kind of, you're defending something. You're defending something that you have achieved, I would say. Ooh, you have Ten of Swords. I was just about to say, when I saw this first card, it kind of like, even though I know, well, it is a defensive card, clearly, right? Look, you're having a major arcana, you're having the moon, and you're having a King of Pentacles. So you're defending indefensible, I would say. Maybe you're being told that there's like something that you did, or something, somebody's giving you third degree, let's put it this way, and you don't like it, because it's just like kind of like feels like, okay, you too, Brutus, right? Kind of a thing. It feels like, why you're adding to something that I'm already struggling, I'm already dealing with, and I don't really know how to address it. And Ten of Swords is like, puff, you're just like depleted, no energy, there is a loss, somebody's backstabbing you, or you feel they're backstabbing you, and sort of. But almost like it feels like it's a bad dream. It's kind of like you're acting completely out of your element. And of course, you're freaking like having a Mars in retrograde for quite a while right now. And it's an extended long thing in this horrible, horrible year. So what else can kind of go wrong this year, right? But then the moon come reversed. And when the moon come reversed, it's like we are finally able to see some clarity. We finally, like, able to understand how to move forward. And like, you're going with first thing first, family comes first. If you're like a family person, then you're going to be looking into how to ground everything, how to put things in place. I think some of you might be even cleaning your home and organizing your home, and that kind of like will be very prominent over here. King of Pentacles also talks about possible advance in your career, or advance in your job, or it simply could mean also that you're meeting somebody who is coming in your life. Maybe you had, if you're in a dating game, then maybe you have been meeting people who have been rude and hurtful, and whenever you thought something is going well, something will come up. Maybe they just disappeared, maybe it was cheating of some sort, right? Luckily, you are actually going to be going through this transformation that we need to go through this week, and you're actually realizing that, okay, so it was just a stroke of a whole bunch of bad lucks, bad kind of like things, and this is like just how the ball rolls, and you're kind of like completely understanding that, hey, at some point this has to turn around. It can be a stroke of really, really good things, and just like with that energy, you're attracting really different energies that is actually making this happen, and then turn around, you're feeling very, very much with this King of Pentacles coming through, which could be you, that you're feeling really grounded and in control and stable, or it could be that you're attracting somebody who is helping you gain that, and who's helping you kind of like be who you are. And this one wanted to come through. And then we have falseness. And falseness does talk about somebody lying and something, and that could be also connecting to the moon, because the moon is making us see things that are not really there, right? So it's kind of weird, because falseness is a counterpart to faithfulness, which is a doggy in a picture, and how rude of them to put a cat over here, right? So things, and that's what I said, you have seen already, like, the things are not going well, but there is like this understanding and clarity that you have that, you know, there is like just kind of like, hey, what's up? I'm doing Aries. So there's understanding, guys, that kind of like, you know, certain things need to kind of like switch. So I feel that some kind of, I would say, falsities are, or falsehood are going to be discovered, or maybe you're going to face on with this new energy that we are coming through, and you're going to encounter this person or talk to this person, and that's kind of like what I see this. Even though you're defensive, you are maybe the one burning those bridges. Maybe you are kind of like indicating these things, right? So you need to weigh options carefully. you kind of like also need to understand that maybe somebody is looking too good to be true, and maybe this is why you kind of like hung on a situation. Maybe some relationships that you had were not meant to last, and it was like done in your best interest, you know. But also you might have some kind of like lies and maybe opportunism, maybe among your family and friends, and that's going to kind of like feel harsh. Or you might be told like how that you're cold, that you're taking advantage, that you're like not leading on with the heart. So be careful. It's going to be very important to be very, very transparent this particular week. And hello, creative gurus. Creative guru is saying to you all, good morning, sweet Taffy. Are you going to say hi? Yes. Yes. Okay, now can you move your furry butt? My screen is again frozen, so I don't know if you guys are seeing this. Hopefully you are. If not, tell me so I can refresh. It is really weird. I think it could be my Windows update that is doing all of that. So that was Aries, which I of course didn't put the marker on, but I will now. The next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more, and then we have doors. Okay. Yes, Safi has left the building. Capricorn. Okay, we have Capricorn. So there is Chris coming through. Okay, let's take Capricorn's card. Here we go. Capricorn. It sort of bleeped a little bit, but it's fine now. I don't know. I think it must be connected to my software because it's really bad, and we are not in Mercury retrograde. Well, kind of we are, but we'll see. So Capricorn, you have Page of Swords and Karma, and Six of Pentacles. Well, now that's an interesting combination right here. So Page of Swords is talking about this youthful attitude where you still want the world to work in the idealistic way. You're still kind of like having demands on the world, but this is the right thing to do. Why is not everybody doing this right way? Without realizing that things get so tangled after a while that it's kind of really hard to untangle them, but they're pulling one kind of like end might not go anywhere, might cut this kind of like end, or simply kind of like it's not doable. And that's what really happens when you have layers and layers and layers and layers of things. And that's why this is now talking to you about kind of like cutting through this. And how to cut through is literally with bluntness, or you might have somebody coming toward you with this uttermost bluntness, because this Page of Swords, even though the person is telling everything that's correct, it's kind of like done in a way that creates harshness, that, you know, it kind of like affects you emotionally, even though they're just words, you know. So words are hurting possibly, or you are delivering some kind of hurtful words. It almost looks to me you're dealing with something that was looming for quite a while. Maybe you have to have some kind of like talk. Maybe you need to cut somebody off. He didn't necessarily evolve to Queen of Swords stage, because Queen of Swords understands that sometimes you need to say nothing, or sometimes you have to be quiet. He's like still in the idealistic phase, thinking that people can change, and they would change just if you tell them something and if they become aware of it, right? So sure, if you don't admit yourself the situation, you cannot change it. So there is like some kind of like, maybe could be self-awareness, maybe you're being even super duper honest with yourself, but it's going to be kind of like a kind of harsh quality. And then we have this Karma, and it's almost like eclipse of the sun that we see over here. And this is kind of like almost like a celebration of something extraordinary. It's the Judgment card. And when Judgment card appears, it is a karma card, not only a major arcana, but also a karma card, which means there's like some kind of release. Maybe you need to speak your own truth. I mean, you tend to be, you're Capricorn, you're earth sign, you tend to be more diplomatic, and you kind of like know how to position yourself as kind of like goals and career and kind of like high kind of like positions in life are important to you, and you know you cannot get there by cutting all these people off around you. So it's kind of really important to move in that direction. So there is like some kind of like resolution that is happening this week. Not only are you able to kind of like feel clarity, because when karma happens in the upper situation, it really talks about success. It talks about that there is a release. So whatever good or bad happen, whether this is somebody telling you off or telling you some bad things, you are kind of absorbing it, is coming through you, you're acknowledging them. There's this kind of like realization, and we are done. It's done. You know, so there's like not that entanglement like some people have, for example, codependency. So you keep meeting partners that are inadequate, or you keep looking for ideal partners and they never arrive. So there is like this, now I can move forward, right? So Six of Pentacles is then talking about some kind of like energy that comes through, and I really like that he is dressed in green. Even though this is Pentacles card, I see this is like full of heart. I see this card being helpful, and this is kind of card where it's give and take. And I would say you are in the give stage. You are into I can help. Maybe you're realizing that something, even though has been served on you kind of like coldly, if you wish, maybe even some kind of a revenge, it's actually a cry for help. So like this really helps when your ego is so healthy that you do not feel that you need to really continuously defend yourself and do it. And that's kind of like what we are seeing over here. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And you have the Soldier. It's kind of like familiar. So something secret, somebody's inner thoughts, I would say, are coming to the surface. Somebody is feeling defensive. I don't know, for some reason I don't think this is you. I think this is going to happen to you, kind of a thing. So you need to kind of like guard against this hostility if you really wish, right? So this could also be the person who is, let's say, a policeman or a soldier. It could be like the authority figure that you might have a clash with, or that kind of like sort of a things, right? But the cards are overall positive, so I'm not kind of like interpreting this as a negative meaning. This could be simply that you are protecting yourself, maybe in order to go to some kind of like permanent commitment, if you wish, right? That, you know, there is like somebody who is picky, there is like somebody who is not trusting easily, right? And kind of like it's going to be some opposition, that's for sure. So you need to seek to resolve conflicts before they escalate. That's probably the best way to summarize this. And so you need to look to for those who stand up for you, to you, for help, or who stand up for you for help. So it's going to kind of like be both ways. And just the way it has been delivered badly, it doesn't mean that this person is not really somebody who needs help. And it's also not, it's just like somebody is in such a bad situation that they will really need your assistance. So this is why Karma card is coming through, to see how you handled your ego. If you are basically taken back with somebody's, let's say, lack of delivery, and or if you're just really seeing the real purpose. So what are we now in the 6 signs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are. So guys, now we have a little break where we have the doors, and the doors are next, as Kyle is Knitting Yogi said. So what that means that you guys right now need to think of a question you want answered, focus on it intensely. I'm going to pull 3 cards: left door, center door, and right door, or door number 1, 2, and 3. So you just have to imagine, do you want a left, do you want a center, or do you want a right? And that's going to be your answer. Okay, so let's go. And this. All right. So let's remove this. Yes. Now, hopefully you did your work over there. And I'll put the stamp. So what is the left card is Hermit reversed. I would say that possibly you guys here are talking about trying to be with someone. Maybe you're tired of being solo, or on the other side, like you really kind of like want to do things yourself. This is not a good solution if that kind of like is what you want. But this would be a no. This would mean like something is not wise to do it right now. And it's kind of like telling you that something is connecting with 9 hours, 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months. Don't kind of like go in this direction for a period of time. The door number 2 is 8 of Wands reversed. Again, it could be that you want some information. You want to hear from somebody, whether job or or a person, and this could be like also called arrows of love. But look, this is still going to brew. It's going to be delayed, and I think you might actually need to wait somewhere between 2 or 3 weeks for this to really happen. Yes, I would say it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen as quickly as you are anticipating. And the door number 3 had 2 cards, and you have like 2 of Wands reversed and 5 of Pentacles reversed. Like 2 of Wands upright is really talking about somebody looking in the right direction and somebody anticipating new life. But when it reverses, it kind of like says, no, everything is already here. You're already dealing with something. This card is in an upright situation talking about feeling withdrawn from, let's say, the mainstream, or maybe that you have done something, and can talk about stepping out of marriage, stepping out of a relationship where now you only have this one person that you can focus on to, and the both of you feel a little bit kind of like injured and need protection, where this reverses, and now maybe like this whole situation where you feel isolated, where you feel neglected, it's coming to an end. So maybe the solution was not elsewhere. Maybe the solution just like needed a passage of time for things to happen. So it's really hard for me to say here either yes or no because of what kind of combinations of the cards came through. I can tell you this is something very spiritual that is really happening. You have this 7 coming through, and it's just telling you to really wait out on a situation, and that would be probably the best possible option to do that. So I don't know, for those of you guys who took 3, how this relates. It will be really interesting to hear because that was kind of like, it was really complicated over here. So angel cards from Mods, there you go, correct. So I don't know if I should draw it for Barbie. I'll draw it later and kind of send it to her. But let's go to see in the order of appearance. I think Knitting Yogi was first. Yes, she was. And you're getting light, and that's a quantitative change in energy, right? And there is like something going on there. You're transforming, so it's going to be a really important week for you. I believe it's connecting to this like new moon, and it's almost like somebody turned on the light and you can see, you can now finally understand why you have stagnated or why certain path didn't open up, because it didn't exist, and now it does exist, and now you can move forward. It's kind of like turning on the lights. Then the next one was Barbie, but I'm going to send it to her. And the next one is Chris. You're getting delight. Oh my goodness, like whose birthday is coming up? There's like some kind of celebration going on over here. As we can see, could be few people, gathering of friends or something. It's going to be something noteworthy, something enjoyable, something celebratory. I mean, I think it does look like a birthday cake, but it can be anything. Could be simply a candle, kind of like a ritual. So, hey, you're going to have a really enjoyable week. And then we have Kylie. Oops. Transformation. Oh my goodness, I'm having goosebumps. Like all of you, my mods, like you're so in tune. So you're going to actually move. That's kind of like going to be this new moon in Scorpio. Very important for you to do the rituals. I don't care how little personal time you have. You really need to work on it. That's going to really push you forward, Kylie. And hopefully this helps over here. So let's see. Okay, what Scorpios do I know? Transforming, cool. Okay, so let's see. The next one, we'll go the angel cards in the end as well for my dear mods. And we have Geminis. And there are so many things to do, so I keep forgetting things now with giving all this stuff. I have to figure out a little bit more efficient things to do it. You can tell that I have lots of Virgo in my thing. And then also when I look at the timestamps, it just keep jumping like 15 seconds at a time. So I almost looks like the magnetic field somehow is affected. But let's go. Gemini. Gemini, you have the High Priestess reversed. Oh my gosh, you have Wheel of Fortune reversed. Two major arcana. Like they're just coming through. And you have the shadow side reversed. Now, this is not for weak-hearted over here. This is some serious stuff coming through. There is like something, a closing, end of recession. It's kind of like really weird. You feel like you're affected from all sides. You are just kind of usually tapping in your resources, and this is kind of like leading with your heart is not working, but it's also not working leading with your brain, and it's also not working with kind of like trying to get a lucky break. So this is like why it feels weird. And how do you react? You kind of like react in a negative way. There are lots of things that will be kind of bubbling up to the surface. All I can think of, given that we are going through this transformational week, which is really important, Gemini, you have to go to the beginning of this live as I gave a little bit about the new moon in Scorpio, which you need to kind of go and listen. The shadow side is the Devil card in tarot, right? It's called Devil in the other one. It's kind of like this light that needs to come through, but instead of embracing it, people are shying away from. So solution is there, the savior is there, but you don't want to accept it, which kind of like almost like means, oh, F it, right? So I cannot do this, I cannot do that, so I can as well indulge, whatever this is. You absolutely know this is not right for you. Whatever kind of like dependency this is, we are all workaholics, we are all kind of like have some kind of holic like inner life like that is affecting us, and this is going to be very, very prevalent for you in this kind of like week. It's going to feel that even though you have like two hands on the wheel, that there's like nothing you're doing that can affect you. It's just going to be completely weird. And I really have to say that you'll feel really nervous and unhappy. But when something like this happens, that you have like not one, not two, but three kind of like stack against you, and three major arcana, so there is like no room to wiggle in it, it almost like tells me this is kind of like shedding of the skin. All you need to do is do the right thing. Let me repeat that. All you need to do is the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, oh my God, crap will happen. That's kind of like how it looks. Let's get do you have any Gemini here online? Anybody can give me a little bit more insight, or who is here getting this energy coming through over here? So we have reunion like reversed, we have sweetheart reversed, and we have old woman reversed. It's interesting that three cards came through over here as well. So you guys are going to basically dominate, looks like, the rest of the signs. Maybe you're that black hole. Like, right? It's always, oh my gosh, Steve Martin. I don't know if anybody likes him as a comedian. I think he's freaking brilliant. And I watched one of his shows, and he says, look, you just have to look around the room and check who is an asshole in the room, and pardon my language. And he said, if you don't find who that person is, it must be you, kind of a thing, right? So it's going to be one of those weeks for you guys. You have reunion reverse, so something is not happening, something is not moving forward. You were counting on something that it just is not going to happen. There is like lack of clarification of some sort. There's like lack of kind of like resolution. It's kind of like missed opportunity, or postponed opportunities, something is not really going your way, or reconciliation is not happening of some sort. Be also careful, that can talk about some traveling dangers here as well. A sweetheart, it can just simply represent you, that you are, and that's what we see over here. You are completely getting out of your character. You are not accepting any kind of like advice from anybody. You know best, and hey, you know, I know that this is wrong for me, but I'm going to do it, damn it, anyway, kind of a thing, right? It's somebody who's coming from a broken place, I would say, and that can indicate that somebody's here dealing possibly with divorce or separation or some kind of like negative experience over here. So hence, no advice is a good advice. Damn everybody, I'm going to indulge, I'm going to use this bottle, I'm going to kind of like do it. I know this is going to make it worse, but right now I'm feeling a bit better. And that's kind of like the whole mood of the week, right? So because it almost looks like with three majors that you have been dealing with it for a while, and there's like a time for you to trust your feelings and then let go, because holding back is actually what is keeping you away from finding happiness. And it's going to be really, really important, because you are not receptive to anybody or to anything this particular week. I am sad to see that, Gemini, but as I said, if you manage to kind of catch yourself and become, as Eckhart Tolle calls, conscious, then you will not be kind of like running down this kind of like precipice. You will be able to jump on the brakes. All it takes is conscious decision and to say, stop, I need to stop, I cannot be this self-destructive, because that's how your week might look like, unfortunately. So Little Shop of Horrors comes to mind for Steve Martin. He's like so bizarre. I think he has such a high IQ that it's sometimes hard to understand him, but I love him, absolutely. Okay, who is next? Is Leo. So we had a Leo over here online, right? So let me put a stamp here. Leo and Leo. Let's see. Be a dentist. Yes. Man, he's hilarious. I like the dry humor. I guess because when you come from Europe, all humor has to be highly intelligent and dry. Or on the other hand, Benny Hill humor, which is like so kind of like basic. And I kind of like the both ends over here. So Leo, let's see. Leo, you have 5 of Wands. And you have Queen of Wands reversed, and you have the Magician. So something is heading toward you that could be very unpleasant. Like here we have a whole bunch of like, warriors on their dragons, and kind of like they are trying to kind of like battle. So is this a game? Is this a real thing? I think they're battling with their wands, but each wand has flowers at the very end. So it's not as serious, even though those dragons, they look very, very scary if you really wish. Also, what I'm noticing, that a couple of these people in the distance, they do not wear any kind of like type of helmets. 1, 2, 3 are not wearing helmets, while 2 of them are. And these 2 kind of like coming from this side seem to be aggressors. So it almost looks to me that you might actually have some kind of like meeting where maybe like more people will be involved. Like, maybe it can be a group of 5 people, as 5 of Wands is suggesting, but 2 of them prominently will be very aggressive and trying to kind of like push their way, while the 3 of them might be sort of like not personalities who kind of like want to clash, but nonetheless this is more or less like some kind of like values, and what values are standing, what values are not standing. You might also feel that somebody is simply quote unquote violating you, unfortunately, and I really hope that none of this is really talking about physical kind of like altercation of some sort, because this card sometimes could be. And I have seen it sometimes in the cards, and I have learned the hard way also that this kind of like what it can mean, because You are clearly Queen of Wands. That's a Leo, right? And here she doesn't have a black kitty. She has this like a ginger kitty that is sitting over here, and she's like the gorgeous redhead over here. And she has everything, including her sunflower, but it is reversed. So when it's reversed, it's almost like you're stamping your feet and you're demanding something. It's kind of like somebody will irritate you so much. Look at this, is a fire, fire and air. So fire and air is like pushing air in this fire, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So somebody is pissing you off big times this particular week, my dear Leo. And it could be somebody who is in your family. I can see eruption. I can see that you will freaking lose it. You will lose it to the point that you will get possibly a bully kind of like and it's going to be fist on a table, it's going to be this way, which part of this you cannot understand, kind of a thing. It's going to be the roar, right, from Leo, because it's ending on a magician. And magician also has this like beautiful wreath of red roses, which is kind of like indicative of love, which kind of like a connect with your sign as well. Also, like, I mean, there is this infinity, which also connects to strength card, which also like only these, well, these two plus the world has it, 3 cards only. So there is like the thing, there's like the new beginning. That's something that's going to happen rather quickly, I would say. And it could be that it has to kind of like be worked through this whole week. It's going to be almost like some explosion and the chips will fall down, and then you kind of like have to see what happened and how it happened and how you deal with that, because magician is like that essence of as above so below. So how is it in with the gods? We can do the same thing. I can attitude, I will attitude. It's kind of like very air dominated. If you guys are looking for a partner, then you might meet somebody who is very appealing. This is like kind of like Mercurian energy. Magician is Mercury, and Mercury is like really high. As I said, Mercury is culminating right now. Mercury is going to be very kind of like dominant in this particular week. So you're talking 16, 17 over here, which possibly is coming back to kind of like understanding all of these changes. And so almost like this is going to fade, but this is almost like necessary for you to move forward, or somebody's going to piss you off so much that you are going to embrace change to move forward. So for those of you who are looking for dating, so if you're a man, you might meet a woman who is like overly demanding, or it looks like that she's so picky that she kind of like is never going to be pleased. Or if you're a woman, you might meet a man who is like very interesting, but it doesn't look like that his attitude or his center of attention is toward relationships. It kind of like has a little bit of self-absorbed quality or self-important quality, which kind of like, hey, talking to a lioness, that's not necessarily a good match. And then, oh my gosh, we have conversation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here we had the 5 characters. Similarly to this, in a way, this is a group of people kind of like looks like working on their own issues. I don't know if they're all women, like one looks like a man over here, pardon me. So there is like something that needs to happen, and I really think this is a clash of attitudes or clash of values that kind of like can be done. And it is some kind of like dialogue, it is some kind of discussion, it is like something that needs to happen. I think this belongs both here and here, right? That kind of has to happen. So it could be about friendships and relationships and kind of like setting up new goals and new directions over here. And it could be meeting between friends or something, because this card really suggests kind of like this chance for clarification or some kind of explanation or even some kind of like apologies, right? So clearly this is doubling down of there's going to be some exchange, there's going to be some kind of like discussion, right? So it can be something that is really aggressive because Queen of Wands is reversed. It could be some kind of announcement that kind of puts you in a really kind of like a bad mood. It could be somebody's birth or pregnancy or engagement. It could be some kind of broken promises that you're hearing from somebody, and it's going to be really interesting. Even though I can see this as an argument, I also see that family ties will be actually very strong after this. But the whole period for you, Leo, is the communication is going to be essential, that you resolve problems in this particular week. Specifically, what is going to be really important, that you do not rest until the air has been cleared, right? That something is happening, something big is brewing, and you kind of like really need to kind of honor this and just keep going forward, like keep kind of like trusting in what you need to trust. Maybe delivery is not going to be the best, but I think you're on the right path, and that is kind of like really important. So let's see. Hi, Sagittarius, nice to see you. Chris says, no, a Leo with a self-absorbed person, that won't work. No kidding, right? Only room for one self-absorbed person in this relationship. Exactly. Sorry guys, I need to blow my nose. Not all Leos are self-absorbed, because when Leos conquer, that's why the Strength card shows woman taming a lion with that infinity sign. Is kind of like work in progress kind of a thing, right? Just like over here. So, but when Leos kind of like conquer the taming their own ego, they really live themselves to extraordinary heights, and that's really important. Creative Guru says, Kat, will you show us that pink ball of the angel cards in? What is on the ball? It's just a decoration. It's one of those cheap Chinese bowls that you can see it's kind of cracked, but I really like it. It kind of has this coloring, very kind of orangey thing, and so it's nothing special. It almost looks like it's kind of has a square mode on the bottom and it's a round on the top, so that's why I like it and I keep it in spite of this. Any new money or career for Leo this week? Yes, it is possible. There are going to be completely new directions that are happening for Leo in this particular week. So maybe the screaming has to happen in order to clear the air. Box of Scotty is coming down. Yeah, it's kind of vintage, I think. I sometimes go on these garage sales with the estate sales, and I find and pick up the items like that, and of course then I use it for ridiculous things such as a cat dish or something, and that's how it breaks, right? So, Taurus. Like, you should see my Roomba at home. It's kind of like ripped in pieces because Tiger thinks it's a sheep and he's ripping it off. So, luckily it's still working, which is the most important thing, I guess. Okay, so let's see Taurus. Okay, let's see Taurus. You have Queen of Swords reversed. Oh, somebody is pissing you off big times. Holy moly. Okay, let's get this like two that are up. So you're having a King of Cups, and then you're having the Ace of Cups. Well, this is not a great fit. That calls to me there are two people, whether you're one of them or not, right? That are really mismatched. She is somebody who is very, very harsh. I don't know if anybody watched Queen's Gambit, which was basically filmed in Toronto, I guess, with a pretty blue house. But that's kind of like in one episode, I think the episode number 6, almost toward the end, where her friend, she's like really abrasive toward a friend. Not engaging. It's almost like the indifference, kind of like it is really, really clear, and he's hoping for a relationship, almost like he dreamt about her for a while. And then he finally realizes, hey, this is not serving me. I need to kind of like charge myself emotionally. And he says, you're too sharp for me. And the next day he packs and he leaves. And that's kind of like something similar that I see here. There's a complete mismatch here. This is not to say that either of these person is wrong, even though one comes across as a meanie and another person comes across as a softie. But clearly the union is not happening over here, Taurus. And maybe this simply means that your emotional needs otherwise are not served. This could mean that some people want the world to kind of like turn around them, kind of a thing, right? And it's not happening, that you kind of like get the reminders, who the heck you think you are, it's not going to happen. Clearly there's like some level of emotional nourishment that is clearly affected over here. So that kind of has to be taken in account. And you got 3 things. The priest, to me, it's always kind of like almost like your sign, but you have melody. Maybe you're sleepy, maybe you're depressed, Maybe you kind of like need to put your affairs in order. This can actually talk about breakup or separation, and hence this is kind of like an announcement and somebody is kind of having a hard time dealing with that. Unfortunately, this can also talk about maybe a third person being in, because cheerfulness reverses, and that simply means somebody's not cheerful. Somebody's fighting about somebody kind of like that kind of like needs to kind of like deal with. So it's kind of like very negative week, where the solution is really in feeding yourself emotionally, listening to yourself intuitively, trusting your own feelings, right? It's kind of like weird because I don't know about you, but when I get angry, I really get angry. Like there is like no sense of humor there whatsoever. And that's where I kind of like really go wrong. And I'm really trying to stop myself and kind of like try to infuse humor in all of it and find something funny in it, because A, it's going to help me deal with this better, and B, is going to help other person not to feel threatened, because I look apparently very threatening when I'm angry. So here I would kind of like advise the same way. There is somebody who is pissed off clearly, and that anger, you're kind of like are feeling kind of like twofold. You're either feeling pain of this person, and at the same time understanding of the pain and willing to absorb it and willing to deal with that is not possible, because this person is not allowing that angle whatsoever over here, right? So it's kind of like really important that you almost like feel betrayed. You feel that there is like some kind of like denial that is really happening. It could be simply some kind of like laziness in the situation and lethargy about moving forward. So it's kind of like this general kind of like malaise that I see here, that is a kind of crisis, and it's a clear lack of enthusiasm. Oh my gosh, I'm so freaking negative. So you and Gemini seem to be on the receiving end this particular week, right? But keep in mind, this can be something as mild as feeling a little bit, let's say, discomfort in social situations. And if you're dealing with air signs, it's not going to be fun. And if you're dealing with water signs, it's going to be better. But either or is not going to be productive, because this is one of those weeks where you really need to look deep and pull it up. This cup, you need to nourish yourself. Nobody's nourishing you from the outside. You need to work it on yourself. And also, that's the thing of the morality. You need to kind of like follow what is right. And that's going to be very, very, very important to look into that. So Taurus, buckle up. What can I tell you? It might be kind of rocky road, but this too shall pass, as they say. And do the right thing and try to kind of like cut through your own patterns, and that's going to be really beneficial for you. Okay, so do we have 4? Do we have 3? I'm not even sure over here. So we'll see here. We have Virgo. Oops. Put a stem here. Virgo. And you're the first one here. You should see my graph. I'm seeing here a graph of people. Currently it tells me there are 0 people whatsoever, and that I don't have enough video juice. I'm going to refresh it. YouTube is really not getting along with window that needs Windows update, so I'll deal with that. It's just like my graph goes like this, and pretty much like kind of like we're going to be either up or down this week. I guess that's kind of like what is suggesting to me. Okay, so something came through, 2 of Wands reversed, and something else came through, Page of Swords reversed. Oh boy, you have some kind of an energy that is going to be very different. And then you have the Empress. I have been thinking about this card. You can tell I have no life the whole day yesterday. I was kind of like watching this movie again, Interstellar, right? And it was kind of like about these black holes and kind of like that appeals to my Aquarian nature. And I was really thinking, because this card really represents Venus, And I don't know why this came to me, just like, why are we romanticizing this Venus so much? And this is like the ultimate feminine lush representation, where Venus is actually very hostile planet. It's so freaking hot that lead is being melted over there. There's sulfur, I think, dioxide atmosphere. So it's just like, it's really, really weird. So I was like trying to see how, how do I connect this to Empress when it's kind of like really harsh in terms of conditions. And it's kind of like two kind of like train of thought, because this is more or less like Western, because I didn't even look it up. And apparently in, what do you call it, native Indians and in Peru, they considered Venus a very masculine energy, which kind of like would be probably a better fit to all of it. So when I saw this card, this is the first thing I thought through, because this is kind of like what I am guided to see. So first we have Two of Wands, which is meaning like, okay, you're not supposed to move forward. You're supposed to kind of like enforce something that is already existing. Maybe you need to dust something off. Maybe you need to ward somebody off. Maybe you are going to encounter somebody kind of like aggressively pushing through their will on you or their ways. Or it could be simply you putting your foot down and saying this is the way it's supposed to be. Because the Empress ultimately, as she's represented in this card, she is kind of like ruling this element. And it's kind of like Venus rules Taurus and rules Libra as well, right? So especially right now, Venus is in Libra, and that kind of, I think, and that's kind of like really affecting over here, because the Empress always talks about something ideal. And you're Virgo. I have 4 planets in Virgo, basically more planets than in any other sign, which means that I have one, basically, quarter of me, or 1/3 of me, rather to say, in Virgo. So it's kind of like really important to understand that there's like a grounding quality over here, right? For you, that you are just trying to create or go into some kind of like really ideal situation. You're realizing that something has been there all along, that you have the elements for success of some sort, and that there's like something that is really, really going on. So for you needing yogi, this is clearly showing both Virgo and Aquarius over here. Aquarius is maybe going to make you blur things out that kind of like are a little bit unsavory, but something that has to be said. So maybe you kind of like want to pre-think what you need to say, so you can kind of like work on packaging before it come out in a bad way. But I don't think it will, because the Empress knows how to package things. It's ultimately nourishing energy. It's ultimately kind of like the flow. It's ultimately the soft energy. So you need to understand that anything harsh happens only to clear the weed. It kind of reminds me on this story, what is the fairy tale, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? How the prince had to come through and cut all of these weeds and everything to get to it. And that kind of like is really important, because you will be going and cutting through things in order to accomplish this ultimate kind of like nourishment. So it's going to be really, really important to see that. So let's see over here what gypsy card you get. Two of Wands reverse came for Dorothy also, you see. So you're getting consolation. So it's consolation is a weird card. It's, to me, is a lottery card. It's a surprise card. Is also a lottery card, where the fisherman just goes and gets these like bags of money, except those money must be metal, otherwise paper money would not really kind of like survive in water, right? So constellation is kind of similar. Like, I mean, he's reading his paper. He's on this beautiful kind of like, I don't know, terrace, maybe restaurant, watching these boats kind of like passing by. And then the angel comes up and says, hey, want this? Hey, I have something great for you. But it comes reversed. So for you, it's nothing going to be something like that is a surprise. You already are kind of ready for it, right? You already are realizing what needs to be done, right? So it could be like, I mean, that you're feeling that if you don't move forward, that you're wasting an opportunity of some sort, right? And it's kind of like literally this is the failure to receive consolation. So it suggests the failure due to the external forces, right? and rather like a fluke than kind of like a consequence. However, you're kind of like really realization that, hey, I need to nurture myself. No matter what happens, I need to be good to myself, and it's going to be really important. So this can suggest a lack of comfort, or let's say an unexpected disappointment, and that's kind of realization, okay, you know what? I need to do something really nice for me. So that could be kind of like choosing to do pedicure, or choosing to cook good food, or choosing to order in something that is going to make you feel a little bit of luxury and sense of luxury in your life. So this is also important for you to understand that need. Maybe you neglected yourself, Virgo, for a while, because you are a sign that also put others before you, and you're kind of trying to organize kind of like everybody, and in the process you have forgotten yourself, and now this is telling you need to go back to it. You just cannot forget it anymore. It's important that you take care of yourself. So that's important. Tired of the weeds, but weeds are very, very pesky. They do come back, right? That's for sure. So Creative Guru said, I wonder if that's also just enforcing your boundaries too. Some people think that's harsh, but really you just know what you want, and you aren't going to put up with any BS. Depends with who you deal with. There are some people who are, what I call it, always want to kind of breach this boundary. And with them, boundaries have to be very strict. You cannot be loosey-goosey about that, because they will step through it, they will ignore you. And if this means even hang up the phone call on them, not inviting them, or minimizing situation, this is really a must, because these people are just simply, and that could be usually fixed signs. I really have to say, I know I'm a fixed sign, but we can be like so stubborn that we just cannot accept what other people tell us. And in that case, it would be really important. Sometimes it's also good to be blunt. I mean, I'm air sign. I mean, I have no problem being blunt when people don't want to hear it. And actually, I start with Libra, which is also kind of like air, and I start very gently, and once and twice and 3 times, maybe 5 times. It's like, in my opinion, it's like 4 times over. And then there's like time no more for nice. It's just like it, and I go from nice to explosion. It's like, why didn't you tell me nicely? I did. You just chose not to listen. So if you have people who are a little bit numb on your requests, that really tells about them. So it's maybe good to be blunt to answer your question, at least in my opinion. All right, so we have 2 or 3 left. I think 2, because probably Scorpio is still hiding somewhere. And the next one is Pisces. Pisces. Aquarius will be last, I guess, right? Okay, so let's see. Pisces. Pisces. Nothing is coming for you, Pisces. There is something. We have the Magician. Then we have, the Sun. So that's the vibrational one. Very important new moon for you. But we have the Tower. So 3 major arcanas. Which was the other one that it had? It was it Gemini that had 3, or somebody else had 3, which was like really as intense as this one. But check it out. We have the energy of 1, the Magician, and 19. 1 and 9 is 10, and 1 and 0 is 1 again. So that's this new moon, that's this new beginning. But then this is done with the Tower, and this is really where it starts confusion, right? So this is like 16, which is like the energy of 1, and 6 is 7. 7, 8, 9. So 1 wants to move forward, while 9 wants to kind of like go backward and look rewards and everything. So you feel that's why you have the Tower, because there's like some kind of like stuck energy. So Magician is jumping from 1 to 19 right away. So, well, I can do anything. There's like a big promise, and you're feeling that you can make some huge advances in this period of time, right? And you're going like to the Sun stage, and the Sun always talks about disinfection and transparency, and that you need to be your freaking best. Well, this is like sounding really nice, but we people don't, like, especially in the Western society, humility is not let's say, usual thing. Like, you have to kind of like really praise your own horse to go get ahead. And at the same time, this is also very kind of like unsavory kind of quality, a nasty quality that you're praising yourself. It's kind of always kind of like weird, but if you don't, you get passed on. So it's kind of like that stuck space. And I can see that here. Maybe you're kind of like praising your own horse, literally, as the cards are showing. Maybe you simply have the issues with the kid who is kind of like coming up with some kind of like great news. But the fact that, well, maybe the kid says, I'm pregnant. It's a great news, but at the same time explosive, right? And it's kind of like pushing a whole bunch of buttons in you as well. It could be that your kid is simply kind of like setting the boundaries, and I'm adult anymore. It could be the pet as well. Like Tiger said, no, I'm not sleeping in the crate. That's it. Follow the freaking crate. I need my bed. So he got his bed, and then from his bed, he demanded he gets the whole room. So now he gets my whole study, and he sleeps there in the bed. So that's kind of like could be one of those transitioning things, because the ones are telling me this new moon is going to be very important. But in your case, this new moon has to come as a realization or as a maturity of something that has been happening for a while. In your case, something that has been happening maybe for 9 months. And so you're going back to your own birthday, basically here. What kind of like seeds did you plant there? What have you been doing there? Because we were just in the grips of pandemic back then, and that was happening during your birthday period. And I believe this probably was lots of swearing and cursing, and why this is happening right now. And maybe right now it's coming to this like full force and full energy that is really kind of like hurting. So the Tower is Mars energy, and I told you Mars is just went forward yesterday, and it's slightly moving forward, but it's going to start ramping up the speed, and it's going to be a big thing. The Tower always shows up where it tells us that you are on the wrong path. You need to stop whatever you're doing. You need to rebuild it. You need to restructure yourself. And this also means that if you have put some people on a pedestal, like authorities, let's say, that you need to reassess and think if they should be there. That maybe you're giving somebody value that they don't deserve. That could be person at work. Also, it could indicate that maybe there is a complete mismatch. If you're in a relationship, maybe you want kids and marriage while somebody else just wants to be single. And it's a kind of realization that even though you get along on a superficial level, and or let's say let's have a lunch, let's have a dinner level, you do not get along on a long-term basis. So the longer you stay with this person, the harder it would be to get over this person, and so on and so forth. So hence this adjustment needs to happen over here. So that is really, really important to kind of like know. And let's see what you see here. You see Scholar, and Scholar would be close to Magician, except Magician has no modesty whatsoever, and Scholar is not even having time for modesty or for bragging. It's kind of like it just like doesn't come to play. But this is definitely some kind of like guidance and looking for the really quality solutions, right? So simply could mean that you need to study, you will be faced with some kind of information or with something, and you kind of like really need to kind of like deal with this and concentrate on it. So I would say, Pisces, this is not necessarily your forte, but look at this. You have air, fire, fire. Again, you're like fish out of water, and you're grasping for the air. You have to figure out why this is happening to you, because you simply need to sanitize and disinfect certain things. So you will in this period need to use logic and reason to solve the problems. So if there is a crisis of some sort, you need to look for a counsel or a wise person or a tarot reader, somebody who can actually reposition you and tell you in which direction to go, because the Pisces is two fishes. I don't know, are we seeing the fishes over here as well? No, those are butterflies, I guess. Sorry, butterflies and fish is just about the same thing, right? So put your thinking hat on to come up with a solution, and if something happens, as it will happen, something that can be wake-up call or close call, then listen to it, because it happened for a reason for you. And the very last one would be, I guess, Scorpio and Aquarius. We read Scorpio already. So, and the last one will be Aquarius, which will be, I guess, this buddy here. All right, so let's do this. What am I catching up with? One sip of this. Aquarius. Kylie says dealing or managing people who don't believe in boundaries is the worst. Yes, it's unfortunately, like, my personal conclusion is that you simply need to move away. It's just like, it's a form of personal terrorism, I guess, when people don't want to listen to what you say. Last week, I actually really had to be abrupt with my neighbor who has no sense of boundaries. He so believes, a Scorpio, that he's so right in anything he does, that I said, look, you know, self-awareness is probably undervalued quality that people have, and you have absolutely zero self-awareness. Interestingly enough, that's an old guy, 72 years old, and living all his life and not having a quality relationship as a Scorpio must have been damaging, right? But he still doesn't have that awareness. And I said, if people tell you need to stop yelling, I don't care if that's your strong European voice. This means you need to stop yelling. This is like only thing you can say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it, instead of doubling down. No, he doubled down and hung up. And that's kind of like the only way you can deal with people who kind of like have this kind of attitude. So let's kind of go with that. So 8 of Pentacles for Aquarians. Seven of Swords, which is definitely connecting with Aquarians, because we need to deal with that crap. And then we have High Priest over here. So okay, I'm actually better with coughing, but not great yet. So it's kind of weird. The High Priest is kind of like culminating there, which I don't like as a card, but it's so freaking good in this particular combination. Because look, 8 and 7 is 15, right? And 15 is the Devil card. And then 15 and 5 is 20, which is the Judgment card. So look at this. We have these two major arcanas kind of like hiding in it. And also we have the Hangman. So it could be some kind of like energy that we need to release the control that we have. Clearly, because there's like certain kind of like preparation that needs to be done, clearly, and this is really important for us to do. It's 8 of Pentacles, and 8 is about commitment. 8 is about kind of like doing the final touches. This is kind of devil is in the detail when this card comes to play. And then we have 7 of Swords, which in this basically card in this deck, the card in this deck is not so damaging, because he actually appears to be happy. We don't see that sneaky quality over here, and we don't really see necessarily that he's stealing those swords. We do see 2 of them are left, but almost looks like I'm leaving them almost like as a flag. I'm kind of like counting and claiming something is mine. So I would say, contrary to kind of regular interpretation of this card, is this person is taking back control. We are taking back our control. There's like something that has been creating some violation in our life. There's like something that we felt, you know, was simply kind of like putting us up the wall of some sort. And even though we were doing all the right steps, we still kind of like had to deal with that, I would say, outside energy over here. So what is the solution? The solution is offered as the High Priest. And High Priest is always coming in the form of, you need to do tried and true things. You need to be moral. You need to be honest. You need to be reserved with your words. Say kind of like a less, but say things with wisdom. Kind of like think through. Think before sleeping. Kind of a think before think before talking. And the high priest can also talk about wisdom of masses. Kind of like this has worked for the others, it is going to work for you. So it's not necessarily the path that Uranus-driven Aquarius would do, but that's the culmination, Mercury and Uranus, that is going to be the last wobble around the 16th and 17th, and then it's going to stop. So the devil energy that I also see here is also inclination toward doing the wrong things, indulgences, and kind of like, oh, tomorrow is the new day kind of a thing, instead of like today is a new day kind of attitude. So something needs to kind of like get sorted out. We need to kind of like get in touch with what is the right for us. And it's going to be, for example, whatever is the area that you feel weakness, that you're kind of like working on yourself, you kind of like really need to look in the leaders in that field who are like traditional leaders from the past, and maybe read their biographies, listen to their advice, and that is going to be actually very, very useful coming forward. So let's see what we see here. We have pleasure seekers. That is a really weird card, especially when it comes in a combination with all of that, right? So we see three people partying. I usually, if I do those gypsy spreads, then I would say, okay, somebody's having too much fun, somebody's going out with the boys and looking at the other women and doing inappropriate things, right? It could be some kind of situation out of control, but it can also mean just a group of friends. So you can see how difficult interpretation comes over here, right? So that simply should mean gathering of friends, but I don't see, actually it could mean over here. It could mean that you will go in a kind of like in a church, that you will kind of like go in some kind of seminar. I know it's kind of weird because not many things are happening. It could be just simply online, even though high priest doesn't tend to be online. It's kind of like it's warning that it could be some kind of confusion, it could be some kind of misunderstandings, or maybe even delusions. And that's why we kind of like need not only a guidance from someone, but we need to follow through this guidance of somebody who is I guess a wise counselor of some sort, right? So we need to be aware that with this exuberance maybe that we have sometimes, this Uranus is going to be released finally, that also some kind of reckless choices and maybe errors of judgment are possible. So kind of like don't damage things that you have been meticulously working on, and focus on, because it's really important to move forward, right? So kind of like don't do anything crazy, Aquarius. I know this is like telling fish not to swim, but that's pretty much all I have to say on this one. Okay, so now when we are done with all the signs, we also have doors for the second time. Let me close the scene over here. Let me shuffle. And door number 1 is here. Door number 2, ask yourself a question and see what happens. Oh, by the way, last time I also asked for the door number 3, and I actually asked if I'm going to win a lottery, and it was kind of like no kind of thing. So kind of like don't look into that, you can kind of do it on your own. So that's kind of like how it works out. So let me see this. Timestamp. Oh my gosh, we have a long session today. How did I manage to stretch it this long? But I'm enjoying this time with you. So door number 1. Let me see what question I want to ask. I didn't see any of this card, so I can actually do that. Okay. Very simple, banal question. So now we have 8 of Cups for the door number 1, and somebody's leaving. An 8 of Cups reverses, somebody's coming back. If that kind of like was your question, the answer is yes. But if you really want to venture out and start something new, the answer is like things need to go back and things need to be kind of like more solidified, right? And The door number 2 is Justice card, which is the karma card. Things are coming in balance. This is a victory. If you're asking about some kind of like legal solution, that's a positive outcome in your own favor. If you're asking about getting back together with someone, especially if you, let's say, separated, that's also coming back in your favor. Legal cases are resolved. Partnerships are created. So this is kind of like done with almost like a logical agreement. So the answer is yes. And the door number 3 is Knight of Wands. That kind of like sometimes represents Sagittarius. It might be a delayed kind of like a thing because Sagittarius is just living around the thing, but there's like something that is moving forward. It doesn't have a quality of, doesn't have a staying quality, but this staying quality can evolve around the time. It simply feels that there is enthusiasm, there is emotion in that area, there's like something really, really cute that will kind of like happen. So looks like the outside of your cards looks like wisdom teeth or kitty faces. The outside of my cards, what do you mean? On the top over here, it has like, I mean, kitty paws over here. I don't know if that's what you meant. And of course, we are going to do the cards for the mods, the second round. So let's see. The first one was Knitting Yogi. Knitting Yogi. Release. Does it mean, like, what does it say? What kind of bus? I'm trying to figure out. It's a school bus. See, like I need maybe glasses at this stage of my life. And it's kind of like you're done with childish stuff. Like, let it go. Let it go. Somebody wants to be childish, let them be. Kind of a thing. You need to release some kind of seriousness in the process. So I think Chris was next. Chris was second one in the room. With their face down. With their face down. I don't know. Is it? I don't see it. But this is the whole idea of the imagination. That you see things that maybe I don't see. So Chris, you can write your own thing. Like, I mean, the world is your oyster kind of a thing. And you got this angel cards, Drake and Tyler. Unless you know somebody whose name is Drake or Tyler, this is really telling you your angels are there at your service and the wish will come through. You always get freaking good cards. And then Kylie, so I'm glad to see you love it. Kylie, presence. It's kind of interesting, like move into that light. You had this transformation and now the light is shining down on you and you need to soak it in. You are center. You're getting a center of attention. Things are going really, really well. Kind of like that's really important. Oh my gosh, you're saying I think need glasses. I said the same thing. Oh my gosh, we are like really, we are really kind of like communicado today. So guys, I hope, you know, like you didn't get all bored, but like, I mean, 2 hours with me, things are really happening and things are doing well. So next time around, we are going to have a completely new path. It's kind of like we sat in this new car and we buckled up and we pressed the gas pedal and we are moving forward. So looking forward to the next weekend, next Saturday, tabula rasa. That's right. This is like a reset. Kind of like empty, kind of like board, and let's kind of like put some new and productive things going forward. So love you everybody. Let's put some music for the end and I will see you next week. So let's do this one. Hopefully you like this one. Let's put it a little bit louder and I'm going to post the timestamps for those who couldn't join us. Love you guys. Have a wonderful and beautiful and productive week. All the best. for being here. It was lovely seeing you all. See you next week.